thanks Connor and Uly for taking this opportunity to meet with not only just the mission prep group, but also the entire. There's a lot of people in the ward who join on these as well, and I'm actually pretty surprised with how much feedback I get. People who actually watch it later, but also people who watch it live, and how much they appreciate it. And so we appreciate you guys doing this. And so just kind of quick format check is what we typically do is we'll let one of you go, and maybe we'll start with Uly. Just take a couple minutes to share a couple experiences you've had, some whether they're teaching experiences or just personal, how you developed your testimony and ways that you share the gospel, or you can kind of share whatever you want. Share a couple experiences, take 10 or so minutes, and then we'll let Connor go, and then Connor can share a couple experiences that he had as well. And then once you've done that, then Rob and I will just kind of jump in and ask some questions. People from our class and also from the ward can either message us and give us questions that they would like to ask as well, or Rob and I will just ask questions that we've kind of got queued up. So Uly, if you'd like to go first and just take 10 or so minutes, however long you want, and share some experiences you've had. No.
So one that comes to my mind like immediately is when one day we were my very first week there, we got there and we met this guy at like the supermarket, and he told us, he's like, "Are you guys elders?" And we're like, "Yeah, we are. Do you know the missionaries?" And he's like, "Yeah, I used to meet with some missionaries in my old town that I used to live in." And we're like, "Well, can you meet? Do you have time to meet like later today?" He's like, "Yeah, I'd love to." He's like, I'd love to meet with you guys again." So we set up a date with him to go talk to him and teach him, but he wasn't there. And it kind of like happened like that for like a whole transfer, like 6 weeks. He was like ignoring our calls, or he'd say that he could meet with us, but he would never be there. So we were just kind of like put him like not as number one priority, but we started focusing on other people. And then I got a new companion because my first trainer finished his mission. And then this companion, I told him about him, and he's like, "All right." He's like, "I feel like we can." He's like, we're gonna get a time to sit down with him and teach him." And I was like, "I don't know, man. He's pretty flaky." And he's like, so something I learned was like a lot on my mission was faith. He's just like, "You just have to have faith." And I was like, "Okay." So we went to his house. We set up like a time to meet him at 6, and we were at his house, and he wasn't there. And I was like, "Oh my gosh." And I was like, "Dude, we have to go because we have another appointment." And he's just like, No. He's like, "We're going to wait here until this guy shows up." I was like, "I don't know if he'll show up." And he's like, "He will." So you just have to wait. So I was kind of humbled by that. And I was like, "Okay, yeah, I should have faith." And I was like, "Yeah, he's going to come." We waited like 45 minutes. And then he came running around the corner. He's like, "Elders, I'm so sorry. I showed up late. I got held up at work." And then we sat down with him like finally in his house, and we taught him, and he was just like really ready to accept the gospel. And a couple weeks later, like we had several other appointments with him, and he ended up getting baptized. And the day we were leaving, like because we all had to leave Chile, the day we were leaving, we called him to say bye because we couldn't see him. And he started like crying, and he started telling us, he's like, "I always remember you guys because you guys are my elders." He's like, "And I can never forget you guys. It's because of you guys that I have the truth in my life. I have the gospel, and I have joy." He's like, "It's because of you guys that my life is on the right path again." And that really hit us. It made us both very emotional because to hear experiences of missionaries where they're like, "I found the person that I felt that I was supposed to meet. That God had put me there just to meet that person." It's different to hear those experiences and then to live them. Um, and it was so beautiful, it was so powerful that we just couldn't help but kind of tear up and start crying, and just like, it's like, wow, if we have faith and if we prepare ourselves, the Lord can use us in his hands to find those people that he's prepared for a long time, and that he needs us specifically to reach out to them.
That's actually fantastic. And, you know, it's surprising how often we hear examples of just perseverance. And so I appreciate that very much. Thank you. Connor, go ahead. We'll give you your time.
Okay, sweet. Yeah, I mean, with perseverance, there's one story, I guess, that I'll share. There was this one man that we were teaching. His name was JR, but we were teaching him, and uh, he he was a difficult man. He was a very interesting man too. He had been involved with a lot of drugs in his life, and it was just a very interesting time teaching him. But we were really trying to help him to read the Book of Mormon and really to gain a testimony of that. We'd read a little bit of it, and but we were trying to get him to read more on his own. And as well, we were trying to get him to go to church. And it was really difficult at times because he would find an excuse or anything like that. And we got to the point where we were just about to pretty much drop him, and we were like, yeah, it's probably about time to just drop him. And we were going to drop him when he gave us a call one day. And it was kind of unusual. We were like, oh, okay, Jerry's giving us a call. And it's like, so we answered the phone. He says, hey, yeah, oh, dang it, I missed the part of the story. But we had talked to him. We'd been trying to find ideas for him to make his reading of the Book of Mormon more enjoyable, to help him to be able to keep that commitment. I think we'd had a training or something on helping people keep their commitments. And so we suggested, oh, you could do audiobook if reading's not good, because he said, oh, well, it's hard for me to read, or he'd say things like that. And so he said, well, you could do audiobook. There's a couple other options. You could even just look at the children's version of the book. But regardless, he wasn't really even keeping up with that. But then one day he calls us and he says, hey, yeah, so I was doing work on my house, and I downloaded the audio for the Book of Mormon. I was listening to the audio, and I finished. I just want to let you guys know that I finished the Book of First Nephi today. And we were like, what? What? And he said, yeah, and it was real good, and the Lord, I think the Lord told me as well that, I just need to get over my pride and start going to church. And we're like, okay, JR. And it was pretty crazy, but the cool thing was we kind of tested him, of course, because we were like, we actually read the entire first book of First Nephi or listen to it on audio. But he answered all our questions. We were like, yeah, who's mostly talking in this book? And he's like, oh yeah, this guy named Nephi. And we're like, yeah, Nephi, yeah, there you go. And it's like, oh, it's Nephi, okay. And anyway, it was really just a testimony to me as well, though, that a lot of times, there are people who are who wouldn't necessarily think that they would accept the gospel. There's some people who, have had lives full of just difficult things, like hard drug addictions for this man. There are people with other problems or other, maybe atheist backgrounds. This man had been to prison and things like that. But the one thing that was really cool from this experience was that, as well, anybody can ultimately feel the impressions of the Spirit. Everyone can actually benefit from the gospel message that we're sharing. And as well, we don't know exactly who's going to accept the gospel to any degree or what degree they will accept it to. But as we serve, as we strive to obviously talk with people, share the gospel, and teach to their needs and really help them. There's plenty of times where maybe it won't work out like that. There's plenty of times where they may not accept the gospel, but there's plenty of times as well where they will accept the gospel. And ultimately, I think we can be surprised, and if we're willing to look past those difficulties in their lives as stumbling blocks and just write them off, willing to look past that, we can find lots of people that the Lord wants us to find, and that He sent us there to find. Now that's true. And so I guess I bear that testimony that the Lord sent you there for a reason. You'll find people. They may not be exactly who you might think they're going to be. You may not recognize them, but as you search them out and as you diligently serve the Lord, you will find them. And yeah, you'll be a great instrument in the hands of the Lord. I know that He loves all His children, and He gives all the chance to come to Him, citizens and use trust in them.
So one thing maybe if you could both take a turn on talking about was just telling us a little bit about your experience leading up with COVID-19, what mission life was like the last couple weeks, and how you tried to stay productive and help both your investigators, but also anybody who was on your teaching pool, and then also a little bit about what do you think is going to happen with in your mission related to what's it's like. And Connor, I don't know if all the Americans left your mission, or just kind of explain a little bit of that. But Connor, why don't you go ahead and go first, and then we'll go to Uly after that.
Hey, can I insert just really quickly? Could you both announce your missions? We know, but a lot of members of the ward are on here that may not know where you actually served.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, I served in the Canada Montreal mission, but it used to be the Canada Halifax mission, and we got merged and stuff. But yeah, so Eastern Alps and Eastern Canada. So.
And then did you mostly speak French, right?
Yeah, so yes, yeah, I mostly spoke French, but it was very half and half. You know, there's a lot of English speakers in Canada, of course. It's an English-speaking country, but in Quebec, yeah, that is a French-speaking province. So the first language of Quebec specifically is French. But then if you go a little bit further west in New Brunswick, it's exactly half and half. They're really proud of being completely bilingual. They speak both languages. And then you go to Nova Scotia, and it's completely English. Yeah, so it's just that whole eastern area of Canada. So yeah,
Okay.
I think it's really half and half.
And then why don't you tell us a little bit about Corona and how you guys dealt with that, and what your life was like the last month or so?
Okay, yeah. Coronavirus, yeah, that whole thing was a bit rough. Well, it was really rough. It's kind of a drag, but with that, it was actually, there were some good things that came out of it. One of the things was we did family history work, something that I had no idea really how to do before my mission. Because you know, my grandparents did it all, I guess. It's kind of like everybody. But yeah, I mean, that was one thing though that I was able to gain a testimony as well as the importance of family history work, and kind of gain an appreciation for it. So that was one of the good things that came out of it. And as well, obviously, we were still able to teach. As far as teaching was concerned, you can teach over Facebook Messenger. So that was something that we tried to do. We tried to keep group chats with the people that we were teaching, and we yeah, we just we did some Facebook finding. You can go on Facebook obviously and contact people. It's, you know, that was some of the things that we did really. And the nice thing was that the mission as well provided opportunities for us to learn. And as I was leaving, they said something about how they were going to start up a class. Actually, I think it was I can't even remember what the class was on, because I was just, it was the last day, and so you know, it wasn't really, didn't pertain to me, I guess. But you know, they were going to do a class on something, you know, from that on. So sorry, I didn't pay attention there. But they were going to do some sort of class. They did devotionals every night as well, which was really nice. And so those were some of the things that was with my experience with COVID-19. They let us get outside at least, go walk around. It was interesting though, in one of the cities that I was at, you couldn't walk in a group of 3 unless you all lived together. So if you're in a trio companionship, which happens, you might get stopped by a police officer depending on where you serve. That was interesting. That was pretty strict. They were pretty strict. But, yeah, those are some of the things that happened here.
Okay, Uly, tell us about your experience.
Yeah, so I served in the Chile Osorno mission. It's like the entire southern half of Chile. And Yeah, so for like COVID, like how it was for COVID, right?
Yep.
We were like stuck inside for 2 weeks already, like in a quarantine. Is what our mission president called us about. And we were lucky enough to have smartphones. So we were able to do a lot of like teaching over WhatsApp and like texting every single one of our friends and teaching and just like talking to them. And then like giving them scriptures they can read and asking them how it's going. And we had to get really creative. So we like made videos, not of us teaching, but just like of us kind of um, like with music we had on our phone that we downloaded on P days, we would put the music together with like a Google Photos app. So it was kind of like bootleg, but it worked. And just to kind of like help people be happy about like what's going on. It's like, hey, it's all in the Lord's hands, so we're gonna be okay. And we got really close like with a lot of the members because we ended up doing like lots of family home evenings with them. And like it also helped because they were already doing the home center church and like sacrament at their homes for those who had like priesthood holders. So it was like even more special. So I don't know. It was kind of a blessing for the members in like the branch that we were at because it helped them to be more spiritually independent, and that made them like want to know more. So they contacted us like, elders, can you help us out? Like, we just want a spiritual thought later tonight. Is we're like, yeah, of course. So we got together with the sisters in our area and we would do it like every night, and it was cool. Yeah, but we were inside and we can walk every now and then outside. But yeah, it was rough being inside for so long.
So, Uly, while we have you, answer or tell us a little bit about how you guys were fined and what was finding like for you guys, and then we'll let Connor talk about some of that. So primarily before Corona, what was finding like?
Yeah, so it was just like knocking on doors and like talking to members and like getting references mostly, and just like following the impressions of the Spirit. Because sometimes we'll be walking and like we'll see a guy, and it's kind of like what Connor said, like usually the people that we're supposed to teach, that God needs us to teach, aren't the people that we think. Because like I remember one time we saw this guy who was like smoking and he was drinking a little bit outside, and he like called us over, and I was like, oh man, I don't want to talk to this guy, he's drunk. And they always get so like they just like hold you there for a couple hours. And then my companion was like, yeah, let's just go. I was like, yeah, you're right, we should just go. And we talked to him, and he ended up like telling us like a lot of stuff about his life. Like he'd been struggling with a lot of like suicidal thoughts, and he didn't feel like he had any friends or anybody loved him. So we told him about just Heavenly Father, that he's not only a God, but he's also his Heavenly Father, and that he knows him, and that the Savior. And we talked to him about the atonement, and he just like opened up to us even more. We gave him a Book of Mormon, and we told him that we'd love to meet with him. And he's like, yeah. And he's like, you know what, this is good. He's like, I like to hear about Jesus. He's like, this has helped me a lot. And then yeah, so a lot of finding was just like normal knocking on doors and stuff, but most of it you have to depend on the Spirit.
Connor?
Yeah, I think that's well said. I like yeah, there's many ways to find, and I think that generally wherever you serve, obviously, as it says in Preach My Gospel, the principles of finding are the same. It's different in different parts of the world, but at the same time, it's the principle is the same. Like you said, it's directed by the Spirit. And so as you go out, it's one of those things that's really important is to strive to be directed by the Spirit, to go where the Lord wants you to go, and to talk to to find the people that the Lord wants you to find. And so you need to go where you need to go. And I would say for my mission, yeah, there's a lot of door knocking that we did towards the beginning of the mission. That was one of the main things that we really did. And then I kind of, obviously we did member work, number of referrals, and just trying to work through the members and strengthen them and help them to feel confident doing missionary work, and to build them spiritually, and help them to have good spiritual experiences. And with that as well as there's many different things that we've done. you know, in some of the areas they'll have buses, so you can go on the bus and contact people on the bus. And you know, sometimes you know, if you're in a bigger city, you can have street contacting, which is just you go on the streets and talk to as many people as you can in the street. And so ultimately, even, you know, wherever you go, you'll be able to see people around, and if you can, there's people around, and you know, you can share the gospel with them, and yeah, try your best to just, you know, talk to people, obviously. And yeah, like Uly said, it's guided by the Spirit. You know, you'll have to follow the Spirit to know what to say, and to know where to go, and yeah, really, that's where the finding will be. You know, or that's, I guess, the way it's supposed to be. It's the general principle. Yeah. I mean, yeah.
So how much, and we'll start with you, Connor, how much would you guys typically teach in a week? How many lessons could you teach? Because, so I asked this question, my brother served in Montreal back in the 80s. So what, 40 years ago. But my guess is in this sense, it's probably not that different. So how much did you teach? And then Uly, yours will probably be a little different.
I mean, that's a good question. If I needed to average it, it's really hard because you know, there's a lot of diversity as well in areas. Every area is going to be quite a bit different. But I guess in a general sense, when I was in like a bigger city, kind of more towards Montreal, we taught a fair amount. The difference was though, is we taught a lot of the refugees coming from Haiti over there. I was in a place called Montreal East, which is just, it was just full of Haitians, and you know, they're super humble people. So as well, I think with cultural differences, you know, you may find that you teach more and you'll have different challenges in other aspects. But in Haiti, or in Montreal East, we taught so many people a lot. But then I also had areas like there was this one place in New Brunswick, Canada, where it was super hard. We hardly taught any non-members for, you know, I mean, we had weeks where we didn't teach anybody, of course. So I think it really varied in Canada, and I imagine, you know, certain areas like that. And you know, there's a lot of I don't know. There's just a lot of variation. I'd say, yeah. In general, I guess we didn't teach all the time. So as well, if you show up in an area, in your first area, and I don't know where it is, but if you show up and you don't have anybody to teach right away, like, it's okay. Because yeah, in Canada, it was, you know, it's not easy. It's not necessarily easy all the time. Sometimes, you know, it's, you know, different cultural backgrounds will help people to be a little bit more open to talk to you, at least. But yeah, but then you know, there's always difficulties that come. So I don't know what to tell you about that. I guess, like, on average, anywhere from 1 a week to 20 a week. Depends. You know.
Yeah, interesting. Uly, tell us about how often you guys would teach.
Yeah, so at first we didn't, like, the first week we didn't teach anything because I was only there for like 3.5 months on my mission, and I stayed in the same area for my entire mission. But we were reopening it, so like the first 2 weeks we had nobody, and we were just like knocking on a bunch of doors. And in the south of Chile, there's a lot of like, everyone either comes from a huge long line of like being an evangelical family or a Catholic family. So all they want to do is like tell you that you're satanic sometimes. And it's like, what? Or like sometimes they're like, oh, I already have my religion, no thanks. Or like, but it's about Christ. It's like, we can always just help each other. Like, nah. But like once we started getting momentum, it kind of like what Connor said, it just depends. For us, it depended on the day. Like sometimes people were like out on the streets everywhere, so we like, you get a bunch of like mini lessons in, and like, hey, is it okay if we teach you something real quick? It's like, yeah, go ahead, I don't have time. And they're totally fine. And some other days, like, nobody would want to listen. They'd be like, no, I don't have time. It's like, plus I already have a religion, no thanks. So I don't know, maybe like in a week, like we could have like 20, 25. Like, I don't know. It's really like varying.
Are you on mute?
You're on mute, Dana.
Yeah.
Sorry about that.
Yeah, okay.
You had the entire southern portion of Chile.
Yeah, as my mission, but my like area was just like this small town called Fruitiar, and I think it was like about as I'm trying to think. It's like about as big as Highland, Alpine, and like American Fork put together.
And were you the only missionaries in that area?
No, we had sisters, so we split it.
Okay. And
What was
so
the weather like there? Sorry.
No,
Yeah,
go
no,
ahead.
you're good. So it's like on the other side of the equator, so it was opposite. So when I got there, they were in there like barely getting into finishing their spring. So I got there and it was like a really rainy, cold spring. So there's tons of rain, and it's like somebody's throwing buckets at you of rain, and it's super cold. But the
So
heat,
like cold as in freezing, or just
yeah,
cold? Because cold is relative.
yeah. No, it's like it was really freezing.
Okay. So
Especially when you're wet.
Did it snow?
No, not where I was at. It didn't snow.
Okay. Okay.
And let me see. But like during the summer, it was like the sun just burned you. Because the ozone layer down there is like super thin. So we would like go out for like maybe like a couple hours, like one day. We came back like completely just red here, and I was like, holy cow, I've never been sunburned in my life. And my companion was like, yeah, welcome to the south of Chile. I was like, oh, it was awesome though.
What was your? Do you have any idea what your elevation was?
It was we were like at sea level. It wasn't that high, but
Okay.
it's just like the sun just was. We were like under a magnifying glass.
Yeah. And then Connor, for you, it's obviously cold winters, right? Brutal winter.
It's not a little bit. No, yeah. Oh man, it was crazy. My first winter though was actually really bad, but the second winter was pretty mild. But yeah, the first winter, oh my goodness. Yeah.
So was there a mission rule about, hey, if it's this cold, don't go out, or how did you treat the cold?
Yeah, I mean, there was never a day where we didn't go out, I guess. There were days where they said have caution, I guess. But I did hear though that the year before that I got there, that apparently there was one day where it was negative 50 degrees Celsius, and they were like, "Oh yeah, don't go out." And that's brutal. Like, yeah, they were like, "Yeah, people are gonna get frostbite. Don't go outside." But I never experienced that, so I don't know. But it was really cold. Yeah, there was a lot of snow. But then as well in the summer, it got pretty hot too. It's nothing like other places in the world, but it still got pretty hot. Like we still wore short sleeve shirts in the summer. So.
And Connor, how you obviously learned French.
Yeah.
How long did it take you to feel comfortable teaching French or speaking?
Oh geez, I don't know if I still feel comfortable teaching French. So
teaching.
I think comfortable is relative, I guess. There were some lessons where I felt like, as well in Quebec, if you go to Quebec, they don't really speak French there. They speak Quebecois, and that's just their own French slang and their own French accent, and they're hard to understand sometimes. So there were some people you teach them and you feel totally comfortable, and then there's others where they're speaking with just weird lingo, and you don't know what they're saying really, and you're kind of just slightly like uncomfortable because you're like. But I would say that, yeah, if when I felt comfortable, I guess, with, to where I could understand and hold a conversation, I would say that I really felt comfortable. Like after about a year, I'd say I felt comfortable. Like after about a year, I felt comfortable. But yeah, like I could teach somebody from Africa after about less than a year, like about 7 months. I felt comfortable teaching somebody from Africa who speaks really clearly and cleanly and just normally. But the Canadians, oh man, what are they saying? And I have a whole there's one area as well in Canada where they have a dictionary for their own little dialect, their own little accent, crazy Acadian French accent. And I read that to French people, and they were like, "What is that? What is that? It makes no sense." And they, they throw English words in there as well with a French accent. So then it's like, wait, was that a French word or an English word? I can't even tell. So it's a little bit. I'm not going to point that out. I just, yeah, it was a very interesting time, and it depends. I'm sure there's other languages too that are super hard. I would just say that, yeah, after about a year though, it gets a lot easier. So if you can
Yeah.
make it through the first year, you should be. The second year it'll be a lot smoother. It's just that, especially the first times, I think it's just you gotta be willing to get out there and just kind of fail quite a bit so that you can learn a little bit, and just don't be afraid to talk, even if they laugh at you, because that happens. But
Yeah. So Uly, you obviously speak Spanish in your home and stuff like that. How different was Chilean Spanish versus what you were raised on?
It was like 100% different. I got there and I was like, what did they just say? I was like, I have no idea what they just said. It was also very humbling, because I was like, man, this won't be as hard because I'll know Spanish, like most Spanish. But then I got there, and like in the airport, everybody was speaking like clearly and like normally. I was like, okay. And then I got in my area and they started speaking. They speak really fast, and they have like kind of like Connor with like the people that speak French in Canada. It's completely different. They have different words, and like they throw in English words sometimes with their accent. It's like, wait, was that Spanish or was that like English? And you kind of get like confused. But yeah, it was it was definitely different. It was so different.
Well, and for somebody who has as much Spanish as you had, because you guys speak Spanish a fair amount in your home, right?
Yeah.
Growing up. So if you had that much Spanish and then it was hard, then that's interesting. And so everybody always wants to know about food. Tell us about the food. What was your favorite thing to eat? What was the most difficult thing you had to eat? And Uly, since you're up, why don't you give us your take on food?
The food was really good there. Like down, like in the south of Chile, everything's about like the potato is like always like the main like part. So I ate a lot of mashed potatoes, ate a lot of like boiled potatoes, a lot of fries. Like they have lots of fries and like hot dogs stuff. They call them completos, but they have like avocados and tomatoes on it, and they have like mayo and mustard. So a lot of stuff like that. And man, the hardest thing I had to eat, I don't know. I think, okay, yeah. So we had like potatoes and chicken for like 3 weeks straight every single day. And I think like that third week when like the member came and like gave us some food, I was like, man, I don't know if I can eat this anymore. Because it was just like, I'm so sick and tired of this. But we still ate it. But yeah, I don't know. Like the food wasn't ever bad. I didn't mind it. I heard that they had like these weird blood cubes that they made, but we weren't allowed to eat them. So I got lucky. And
Good.
the best thing, the best thing I ate was called asado. And it's like, if you know Tucanos, like the Brazilian grill place, it's like that, where they like they cook meat, and it's just a bunch of meat all together, and it's so good. They had like these sausages that, oh my gosh, my mouth is watering, but it's just like that. It's super fresh and like, oh man, yeah.
All right, Connor, what did you guys eat?
And pretty normal stuff. It's Canada. Yeah, there was this one thing, I guess, that was specific to Quebec, which was, but it's not really specific. They just call it, it's called pâté chinois, but it's literally just shepherd's pie. So it's just ground beef and mashed potatoes and corn, like pretty much it. So pretty standard. There were yeah, I don't know. There were some cool things though. French people typically like, good cheese. So, every now and then they throw some nice ranked on. They'd serve us some nice cheese every now and then or something. Like, but as well, there are some specific things to Canada that I had. There was this poutine. There's probably some people who have poutine, and so that was a thing that people would make, or that some people would eat that, which is just fries with gravy and cheese on it. It's really nothing to write home about. And then there's donair. Donair was a thing that's actually specific to Eastern Canada, just in Nova Scotia and New Brunswick, just right on the east there, where ultimately they just take this lamb. It's kind of like a gyro. They take lamb and they shave it, and they put it on there with some tomatoes and onions, and they have this special sauce they put on it, and they wrap it in like a little flatbread thing. So there's that, and then seafood. You're right on the coast. People put us lobster once. That was really cool. That was nice. But yeah, just seafood. But usually it was just pretty standard though. Pretty just potatoes, roast beef, or something like that. But yeah.
So tell us a couple of things that you felt prepared for on your mission, and a couple of areas where you did not feel comfortable, or you wish that you had prepared differently for your missions. Connor, since you're up, why don't you start?
Yeah, that's a good. I think I wasn't necessarily prepared. Well, there's no real way to prepare for this one, I guess. There's no real way to prepare for, well, maybe there is, but I didn't feel super prepared for the just being with a companion 24/7. Like it was cool, but at the same time, there was a difference. It's just kind of, you have to be with your companion 24/7, so that was a change, and I wasn't necessarily like, I'd never really done that before, obviously, in my life, just been with somebody 24/7. So that was interesting, but as well, I'd say I really didn't study preach my gospel, and I wish I had, because there's a lot of good things in there that will help just every aspect of the work, and it's written specifically for missionaries. And it was explained to me once that if you could just ask general authorities questions all day about missionary work, would you do it? Like, as a missionary, to know what you need to do, or like, would you want to just ask a general authority, where you should go knocking or something like that, or like, whatever. Well, they wrote everything that you need to know in this book, and it's called Preach My Gospel. So if you read that, it's kind of like you can have the advice of the general authorities. So that was something that I kind of wish I'd read before my mission. I kind of skimmed it a little bit for my mission, but I wish I'd actually read it. That would have been helpful. For other things, yeah, I wasn't really, well, I don't know. There's some things I think that as well, that don't beat yourself up on if you're not super prepared for it. Like, there's things that you just can't really, you can prepare for, but like the cold, I don't know. It was super cold. I didn't feel ready for the cold, but you get used to it, I guess, after a while. And yeah, the language, I wasn't. I thought it was hard, so stuff like that.
Uly, and you went to did you go to a Chilean MTC?
No, so they shut it down when they closed it before I could get there. So I went to the Mexico MTC.
Okay, so you went to Mexico and then down. So what areas were you prepared for, and what areas did you feel like you weren't completely prepared for?
I felt like I was prepared to just kind of like learn. I definitely was just realizing like, okay, maybe when I get there, I'm not gonna know as much as I think I know, and I'm gonna need to learn a lot more. So I just kind of prepared myself like, okay, get ready for like a huge shock, like, holy cow, I'm not ready for this at all. Because that's how it kind of was in like the Mexico MTC. I also showed up there and I thought I could speak Spanish really well, but then everybody was speaking. I was like, man, like I understand them, but I don't even know how to say this. So there was that. Just like being like something that I felt prepared to do was just to learn, like learn and to work. And something that I definitely wish I had learned to prepare more was to recognize the spirit, because like on the mission, that's like the spirit is the key to everything, like the key to finding someone, the key to say the words that God needs them to hear. And like if you can recognize how you personally feel the spirit, and like how you personally can receive revelation, like personal revelation, like you'll be like 6 months, I feel like, ahead when you show up. Because if you already know how you yourself receive that revelation and how you yourself can, what you can do to feel the spirit stronger and to like hear his voice, that'll change like everything.
So what process did you go through to kind of recognize how the Lord speaks to you, or how the Spirit speaks to you, and how you can you tell us a little bit about how that process of learning that?
Yeah. So just like Connor said, like PMG, Preach My Gospel, is like the best thing ever. It has an entire chapter where it just says how to recognize the spirit. And like what they did, I don't know how it is in other missions, but what my APs did was like they would call all the new missionaries like once a week and give them like a challenge or something to study throughout the week. And then they call on them and like call them and see how they did it. And like I remember one week my AP gave me that section to study, and I studied it, and I realized like, because I was like thinking like, man, my companion who's like finishing his mission, he's amazing with the spirit, and like I just feel like, man, what the heck, I don't know anything. Like how does he do that? And that section was so good, and like I started to realize more, like reading the scriptures as well, and, like pay attention to my feelings and to the peace I feel and to the comfort, because the spirit's different to everybody, but something that he always brings is peace and like tranquility. I don't know how to say it in English, but just like that. And to realize how he works with you, and like I really paid attention to a lot of that, and like I read like um a lot into that and in the scriptures, and I found references, and like how does the spirit talk to other people, and how did like the missionaries like Alma the Younger and the Sons of Messiah, how did they teach with the spirit? And that just helped me reflect on the way I taught, and like the examples you have to like your companions or district leaders or other people.
No, that's fantastic. Connor, I saw you shaking your head. What do you have to add to that question as well on feeling and recognizing the promptings of the Spirit?
Yeah, I would just say, yeah, that absolutely. Ultimately, it is critical for the missionary work and for everything that you'll do. I'd say, as far as learning to recognize the spirit, yeah, that will be one of the things that will bless your life though as well, more than probably anything. Just because as well, we had this big old thing about Hear Him for this last general conference, and it's obviously super important. President Nelson also said that in the coming days it won't be possible to survive without the guiding influence of the Holy Ghost. And so I think that that's something that, quite frankly, as far as our preparation as well, that's something that's uh, indispensable, I guess. Is just that it's super important, super important for the missionary work. As far as developing that, I think that will just come over time, but like a lot through humility and really seeking that, and being willing as well to do the will of the Lord, no matter what it is. Will open the doors to to greater sensibility to the spirit.
Excellent. Thank you. Rob, do you have some questions?
You both have been home for a few days now. What do you miss the most about mission life? Uly, you go first.
Oh man, I think that's a hard one. The most teaching. I miss teaching and just having that mantle. I know that just because we've been released doesn't mean we have to lose that spirituality and that closeness to the Spirit and to God. But when you have the mantle of a missionary to teach, it changes everything. I don't know. It's just like everything you say, everything you read is just even more like pertinent, and you're just receiving revelation for the people that you're teaching, and you do it out of love. And just I miss the people. I miss just teaching the people and being with them, walking on the streets and just like talking to them, to just like have that hope every morning you wake up, just be like, okay, I feel like we're gonna find somebody today, and that person is gonna be super blessed by listening to the message we have. And it's just, I think that's what I miss the most.
Yeah,
Connor?
oh yeah, yeah, I'd say that too. Teaching is just I don't know. It's its own thing. It's just super great, and yeah, you get to see people progress. You get to see people as well make changes in their lives, and make changes that will bless their lives forever. It's great. I'd say that too.
What were impediments to progress for those that you were teaching? Connor, why don't you go first?
Yeah. Impediments to progress. Okay. Well, okay. In Canada, actually, one of the big impediments to a lot of people's progress was anti-church literature that people would come across either by happenstance or either by searching it. That would halt people's progresses really fast, generally, or at least just make it. They would have questions in a sense, and instead of going to the right sources, like maybe seeking revelation, or maybe even just asking like leaders or learning about it or anything like that. There'd be people who just say, "Oh, well, I'll just look up anti about it," and that obviously just makes it worse. And they're like, "Oh, yeah, no," and then you hear about it, and then they have a question that you're like, "That's not in the Book of Mormon, though." So, yeah. And then they have some interesting questions where you say, "Oh, like have you been reading anti-church literature?" And so that happened a lot. That was a big impediment. But as well, there were several people I met as well who were, dyslexic or had ADHD in a sense, where they just couldn't focus or couldn't read. That made it difficult. Like there were people as well from Africa who don't read very well. So those were some impediments. But as well, I think there was a lot of just people around who didn't like the church in the general sense, or Bible bashers who just want to. And so, people when they find out that their friends learning about the church, some of them are totally cool with that, and then you can teach them too. And some of them as well, they were just like, "Oh no, don't learn from these guys. No, they're from the devil." Yeah. So those are some impediments, I guess, that I ran into.
Thank you, Connor. That's fascinating, actually. Uly, what about you?
So for us, it was either like alcoholism, because like a lot of people just drink on the weekends, or like when they get there, they get home after work, they just buy a bunch of alcohol and just get completely just plastered. And it's really sad because like when they're like that, like it impedes their family members as well to feel the spirit, because they're just completely giving their will, like their agency, to Satan into that addiction, and that closes them off from the spirit. And it really hurts their family as well, because some of them are abusive, and like they're like, "I want to learn but I can't, my husband won't let me." And like that broke my heart a lot of times to hear that, because like people that were so humble enough to like listen, but they're like, "I can't, like my husband doesn't want like two young men to be here in the house, he'll get really mad and it's dangerous, you guys can't come anymore." And it was like that was the hardest thing. Same with like Bible bashes, just like Connor said, there's a lot of those. We had a lot of just other very, very enthusiastic people of other religions, and they would often be like, "Hey, you guys are Mormons, right?" We're like, "Well, a lot of people know us by that name, but," and then they're like, "Yeah, okay, show me in the Bible, where does it say that there's gonna be like all this stuff?" We're like, "Okay." or we'll start talking about the Book of Mormon. They're like, no, like the only word that there is the Bible and nothing else. And like then they start like attacking us, and like at that point it's not worth it, because it's just kind of like the pearls before swine scripture. It's like it's not worth it to fight with them. Like why do it? Because then you just give in to them. And like one time, yeah, it's just very hard for that, because like they just kill the spirit at that point on their part, because like they're not letting anything in. They just have their mindset, and their mind is set on destroying your testimony and destroying the church. And it's like, whoa.
Would you mind both sharing the role of prayer in your missions? And I know, Uly, you've been out just a few months, and Connor, you were out almost 20 months, I think. Do you mind just both sharing your perspective on the importance of prayer in your missions?
Yeah. Yeah, I guess as well on that last one, I'm sorry if I have to backtrack. I just realized when you said the alcohol thing, I was like, oh yeah, I don't know why I didn't do that one, but everybody as well smoked as well. That was the big thing. Addictions are really hard. Yeah. The importance of prayer. That was the question, right? Importance of prayer.
Yeah, the role of prayer in your mission. Yeah.
Role of prayer. Okay. Yeah. So on my mission, well, in any mission, you're gonna pray a lot, I'd say, and it's super important. You start and end each day with a prayer, of course, but as well. You plan, and I think that you pray before you plan. Obviously, I think that is super important, because you can follow the Spirit as you plan to make inspired plans that you may end up deviating from because of the Spirit anyway. But as you make them, by the Spirit as well, you'll find that you'll be in situations or be in places that the Spirit can then take you from there and do other things. But as well, yeah, the Spirit is super important for helping you know what to do, and you really achieve that when you pray and you ask for the guidance. And so, yeah, you will begin obviously planning sessions and you'll end them in prayer, as well as in your studies to help you to just keep that communication with the Lord. And so, you'll pray throughout your entire mission, and there'll be many things to pray for. But I think that that's one of the biggest roles of prayer. And as well, it'll be a great help because you'll be able to pray for other people as well, people you're teaching, members, and you'll pray for them, and that'll be an opportunity as well to develop in charity and love for those people as you pray for them, and as you pray for them as well, you will see great miracles from that, and people will be able to receive more help from God, help that they need. So.
Perfect. Thanks, Connor. Uly?
Prayer is like super important. You pray so much on the mission, just kind of like Connor said. You pray right before you plan. You pray when you wake up. You pray before you leave the house, before you do your studies, when you finish your studies. You pray to begin every single lesson and to end it. And I feel like prayer is so important because that's when we have that time to just like talk to Heavenly Father. Just like Connor said, to like be inspired, to seek that guidance by the Spirit when you're planning and stuff. To although you'll deviate, like Connor said, sometimes because the Spirit indicates that. But to be in those places that you need to be, so that the Spirit can guide you to the place that you actually really need to be. And like prayer is so powerful, especially prayer with faith. It's just, I have a really strong testimony of that, especially my mission, because like every time, so we had like an investigator, she dropped her date like a whole week right before of being baptized. And we're like, what, why? And she's like, I don't know. And we were really sad, but we just kept on praying and praying. Like, we're going to do everything we can. We study, we found it, and we try to help her to see, just help her remember the Spirit that she feels every time that we come, and that can be hers if she's baptized. And like we kept on praying, and then one day, like literally the day before her like son's baptism, she's like, yeah, I can be there, right? We're like, yeah, of course you can be there. And she's like, is it too late that I get baptized? We're like, what? We're like, no, it's never too late. Yeah, we're gonna call everybody, we're gonna rearrange everything, and like it's gonna be no problem, no worries. And she's like, okay. And she told us because like her friend, who was honestly a huge answer to our prayer, her friend was telling her like, why aren't you getting baptized? This is gonna bless your life. This is gonna be everything. And like she's like, it'll change your life completely. And her friend's not a member. Her friend's like, I think Catholic. And she's like, you should get baptized in the church. And we're like, wow, it's interesting the way Heavenly Father answers prayer, often through other people who are also angels. And it's also the people that we don't always expect it to be.
Beautiful. Thank you both. Dana?
Yeah. So again, we thank you guys for joining us today. We try and end these in an hour. So if maybe each of you just take a couple minutes and maybe share your testimony in your mission language, and we can end on that. So Connor, do you want to go first, and then we'll go with Uly?
Yeah, I can start. Je suis nerveux, mais je veux dire juste que j'essaie simplement que l'Église est celle de Jésus-Christ. C'est vraiment l'Église qui a été rétablie par Dieu, c'est-à-dire l'intermédiaire du prophète Jésus-Christ. Ben, je sais que le livre de Mormon a été donné pour nous aider dans cette vie, dans cette condition mortelle. C'est vraiment un bon guide pour nous. Il contient des vérités qui sont tellement importantes pour nos vies et qui sont essentielles pour notre salut. Je sais que Dieu nous aime, que nous sommes ses enfants et que avec lui, nous pouvons recevoir cette joie éternelle. J'ai aucun doute. Je dirais aussi que je sais par le pouvoir du Saint-Esprit que si nous avons des difficultés dans cette vie, Dieu et Jésus-Christ vont nous aider et ils sont toujours là pour nous. J'aime l'expérience et j'aime tous les gens que j'ai rencontrés. J'ai beaucoup appris et j'ai beaucoup aimé juste toutes les opportunités de servir en tant que missionnaire. Et après mes expériences, je sais que ces choses sont vraies. Et, tout le monde verra que ces choses sont vraies à un moment ou à un autre, mais oui, juste. C'est vrai. Je sais que aussi, ces vérités que vous allez partager en tant que missionnaire vont aider ces gens d'une manière tellement forte, d'une manière des fois incompréhensible. Et en servant, vous allez faire quelque chose pour eux qui est vraiment juste l'aspect le plus important de leur vie. Ils vont vous remercier pour ces choses et ils vont faire des changements dans leur vie que Dieu veut qu'ils fassent. Et oui, je suppose que c'est quelque chose de simple que je vous rends aujourd'hui. Je sais que ces choses sont vraies et je dis ces choses au nom de Jésus-Christ.
Amen.
Entonces, mi testimonio es muy sencillo. No es muy, ¿cómo se dice? Como complicado. No hay mucho de eso, pero yo sé que Jesucristo vive, que Él es mi Salvador y Redentor igual que a todos en este mundo que viven y que han vivido en esta tierra. Y que mediante su expiación yo puedo regresar a a vivir en la presencia de mi Padre Celestial otra vez y que puedo estar con mi familia siempre por todo el tiempo y la eternidad. Y yo sé que yo puedo cambiar cada día y que no hay ninguna cosa que, que nosotros podemos hacer para, para alejarnos demasiado de esa infinita luz de su expiación. Porque yo igual he vivido una vida entonces, en donde pensaba esa mentira, pero ahora yo vivo una vida muy, muy opuesto y estoy cambiado. Siento gozo, siento luz en mi vida y lo puedo ver igual. Y a cualquier persona que me entienda, quiere decirle a ustedes es que sí puedes cambiar, porque mi vida igual es un testimonio que las personas pueden cambiar. Y yo trato y me esfuerzo cada día para testificar a cada uno de ustedes mediante mi ejemplo, que sí hay un Dios que le conoce, sí hay un Cristo, un Salvador que le ama tanto y que verdaderamente le conoce en un nivel muy personal y que nosotros vamos a regresar a vivir con nuestras familias siempre. Y ese es mi testimonio y le comparto en el nombre de Jesucristo. Amén.
Amen.
Amen. Thank you very much, Connor and Uly. You guys have been fantastic. And so, Connor, I think you just came home just a couple months early. And Uly, you've been out for what, about 8 or so months? 7, 6 or 8 months? Oh, just 4? Wow. Maybe I'm counting all the time it took to actually get your call. We should count that too, because you were I know what you went through to get there. So thank you very much. We appreciate you guys. You're wonderful. And I think we're through our whole list of people. There's I know that Sister Winger and Sister Star comes home in a month or so. Sister Winger, she's still waiting to get out of Italy, so we'll see how long that takes her. But we'll try and catch these up again once we get a couple more people. So I think we're all caught up. So it's been a great experience for me. I hope everybody else has enjoyed it, and we thank you very much.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
All right, you guys have a good day. Thanks,
Okay.
everybody.
Happy Easter.
Happy Easter. Ciao.
Bye-bye.
Easter too.